The United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 13, entitled Climate Action, calls for urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. Climate change is recognized by the UN as one of the greatest challenges facing humanity, affecting ecosystems, economies, health, food security, water availability, and global stability. SDG 13 emphasizes that climate change is a global issue requiring coordinated international cooperation while also demanding local, national, and individual action. At its core, SDG 13 aims to strengthen resilience and adaptive capacity to climate-related hazards and natural disasters. Rising global temperatures are increasing the frequency and severity of extreme weather events such as hurricanes, floods, droughts, wildfires, and heat waves. These events disproportionately affect vulnerable populations, particularly in developing countries and small island states. SDG 13 promotes disaster risk reduction strategies, climate-resilient infrastructure, early warning systems, and community preparedness to reduce loss of life and economic damage. Another key focus of SDG 13 is integrating climate change measures into national policies, strategies, and planning. Governments are encouraged to incorporate climate considerations into economic development, urban planning, agriculture, energy systems, and transportation. This includes aligning national development goals with commitments under international frameworks, such as the Paris Agreement, which seeks to limit global temperature rise to well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, with efforts to limit it to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Long-term planning ensures that economic growth does not come at the expense of environmental sustainability. SDG 13 also highlights the importance of climate change mitigation, which involves reducing greenhouse gas emissions that drive global warming. This includes transitioning from fossil fuels to renewable energy sources, improving energy efficiency, promoting sustainable land use, protecting forests, and encouraging low-carbon technologies. While mitigation efforts are global in scope, SDG 13 recognizes that countries have different responsibilities and capacities, and therefore promotes the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities, ensuring fairness between developed and developing countries. Education, awareness, and capacity building are central to SDG 13. The goal calls for improving climate change education, public awareness, and institutional capacity to enable societies to respond effectively to climate risks. This includes teaching climate science, sustainability practices, and environmental stewardship in schools and communities, as well as training policymakers, businesses, and civil society organizations to implement climate-smart solutions. Empowered citizens are more likely to support sustainable policies and adapt environmentally responsible behaviors. A critical component of SDG 13 is climate finance and international cooperation. Developing countries often lack the financial and technological resources needed to adapt to climate change or invest in clean energy transitions. SDG 13 encourages developed nations to fulfill commitments to provide climate financing, technology transfer, and technical assistance. This support helps vulnerable countries build resilience, reduce emissions, and pursue sustainable development pathways without sacrificing economic progress. SDG 13 also intersects strongly with other Sustainable Development Goals. Climate action supports goals related to poverty reduction, food security, health, clean water, clean energy, sustainable cities, and biodiversity protection. Conversely, failure to address climate change threatens progress across the entire 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. In essence, SDG 13 recognizes that climate change is not only an environmental issue, but a social, economic, and moral challenge. It calls for urgent, inclusive, and sustained action at all levels of society to protect the planet for current and future generations. By promoting resilience, reducing emissions, strengthening global cooperation, and empowering people with knowledge, SDG 13 aims to ensure a stable climate system that supports human prosperity and ecological balance worldwide. Climate change is one of the most complex and urgent challenges facing humanity, demanding coordinated action that transcends borders, economies, and levels of development. While developing countries often experience the most severe impacts of climate change, they frequently lack the financial resources, technological access, and institutional capacity required to respond effectively. At the same time, developed countries possess advanced technologies, capital, and expertise, but struggle to translate commitments into equitable and efficient global outcomes. To bridge this gap, two complementary innovations, like the Climate Capability Accelerator and the Global Climate Solidarity Exchange, offer a transformative framework for inclusive, scalable, and cooperative climate action. The Climate Capability Accelerator is designed to empower developing countries by strengthening their ability to finance, deploy, and sustain climate solutions. Rather than relying on fragmented aid programs or isolated climate projects, the accelerator takes a systems-based approach that aligns investment, technology, and workforce development with each country's unique climate challenges. The process begins with the creation of climate readiness profiles, which assess vulnerabilities such as extreme weather risks, energy needs, infrastructure gaps, and workforce capacity. These profiles ensure that climate interventions are targeted, efficient, and responsive to local realities. A defining feature of the accelerator is its use of climate investment bundles, which integrate multiple climate solutions into cohesive systems. For example, renewable energy generation may be paired with energy storage, climate-resilient agriculture, and water management technologies. Bundled solutions reduce implementation costs, improve system reliability, and attract long-term investment by delivering measurable impact across multiple sectors. This approach ensures that climate action supports economic development rather than competing with it. This accelerator also prioritizes local innovation and ownership through the establishment of climate innovation labs within developing countries. These labs adapt global technologies to local conditions, train engineers and policymakers, and incubate domestic climate-focused enterprises. By building local expertise and fostering entrepreneurship, this accelerator shifts developing countries from being passive recipients of climate aid to active producers of climate solutions. This transition is essential for long-term resilience and independence. Financial sustainability is addressed through climate impact bonds, which tie investor returns to verifiable climate outcomes such as emissions reductions or increased energy access. This model aligns private capital with public climate goals, unlocking new funding streams while maintaining accountability. In parallel, workforce development programs prepare young people and displaced workers for careers in renewable energy, sustainable construction, climate data analysis, and ecosystem restoration. These initiatives ensure that climate systems can be maintained and expanded locally over time. Complementing the Climate Capability Accelerator is the Global Climate Solidarity Exchange, a structured mechanism that enables developed countries to contribute meaningfully and transparently to global climate efforts. This exchange transforms international cooperation from voluntary pledges into an organized exchange of resources, knowledge, and responsibility. Through the use of climate contribution credits, developed nations receive recognition for providing funding, technology, data access, and technical expertise. These credits are publicly tracked, strengthening accountability and encouraging sustained participation. One of the exchange's most impactful features is a technology liberation framework, which promotes affordable access to critical climate technologies by reducing licensing barriers and enabling co-production of clean energy systems in developing regions. This framework accelerates deployment while simultaneously strengthening local economies and manufacturing capacity. Technology transfer becomes a partnership rather than a one-sided transaction. The exchange further fosters long-term collaboration through climate twin partnerships, pairing developing countries with developed counterparts for ongoing mentorship, policy support, and institutional strengthening. These relationships replace short-term aid with enduring cooperation, ensuring continuity and shared learning. A global climate talent exchange allows experts from both developed and developing countries to work together, building trust and transferring knowledge across borders. Together, the Climate Capability Accelerator and the Global Climate Solidarity Exchange form a powerful and integrated global system. The accelerator focuses on building internal capacity within developing countries, while the exchange mobilizes external support from developed nations in a structured and accountable manner. One empowers, the other enables. Combined, they transform climate action into a shared global enterprise rooted in equity, collaboration, and mutual benefit. In conclusion, addressing climate change requires more than technological solutions or financial commitments alone. It demands a framework that builds capability, fosters solidarity, and aligns global interests with planetary well-being. The Climate Capability Accelerator and the Global Climate Solidarity Exchange provide such a framework, offering a path toward inclusive climate resilience, sustainable development, and shared responsibility for the future of the planet.